Hi! Over the past year or so, you've probably heard this name a lot. Cindy Hill is the current superintendent of public instruction in Wyoming and a candidate for governor. You might have heard some great things about Cindy and maybe some not so great things. In the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you Cindy Hill's story. To tell this story, we have to go way back to here. In 2002, the federal government began an educational reform initiative called No Child Left Behind. You've probably heard of it. Under No Child Left Behind, the federal government promised a whole bunch of money to states if they agreed to meet federal requirements. Although it seemed like a good idea at first, all that money came with strings attached, and the states were soon finding themselves burdened with more and more federal demands. They soon realized that they had placed their most precious asset, the education of their children, on a bus heading for Washington, D.C. When Cindy Hill was elected in 2010, she brought a new focus on supporting teachers and strengthening local control. And it worked. During the first 2 years she was in office, scores on the statewide test increased. That hadn't happened in years. Moreover, by holding true to conservative fiscal practices, she saved the state millions of dollars. Impressive, right? But remember this bus? By 2012, it had gained lots of momentum, and there was a new guy driving. This guy. He promised states more and more money if they would just get their education systems aligned with DC as quickly as possible. Some Wyoming leaders decided to join him. Even though they didn't really understand exactly where the bus was headed, the idea of more money and less responsibility for education was appealing. Let's just call these guys, I don't know, how about the good old boys? To get this bus to DC, Governor Mead insisted that Wyoming adopt the Common Core as standards. Cindy said no. She believed Wyoming should have the highest standards. When the governor tried to match Wyoming's accountability system to the federal model, Cindy said no. Let's do it the Wyoming way. As the state was moving toward adopting a new federal-funded national test, Cindy said no. Wyoming's tests must be rigorous and reflect our values. Cindy resisted every effort to federalize Wyoming education. Well, this made the guys driving the bus pretty mad, and they decided they need to get her out of the way. In 2013, Governor Mead and a few others got together and pushed a bill through the legislature in record time that removed Cindy Hill as the head of education in Wyoming. This cleared the way for the governor to hire one of this guy's friends. Although the good old boys knew they were removing Cindy, it seemed they forgot that they were also taking away the vote of every citizen who had elected her. The voters were upset. They wanted answers, and they wanted their vote back. When those responsible for this bad law couldn't give a good reason for their actions, they decided their only defense was to start pointing fingers, and a smear campaign against Cindy Hill began. That's right, Washington politics right in our own backyard. Cindy told the governor she would be running against him in the upcoming election, and right after that, the good old boys gave Governor Mead a whole bunch of taxpayer money to hire some lawyers to investigate Cindy. When that investigation didn't show any wrongdoing, a few legislators decided they would spend some more taxpayer money and do their own investigation. In all, these investigations cost the state of Wyoming over $1.3 million. And what did they find? Well, nothing. So, instead, they just rebuked her, whatever that means. Remember Cindy's constitutional challenge of SF 104? It was a success. The Wyoming Supreme Court agreed with her and struck down that bad law. Cindy returned to the Wyoming Department of Education, and the people got their vote back. Cindy's story started in education. Although she hasn't completely turned around this bus to Washington, D.C., she has slowed it down and is letting the people of Wyoming have a voice in important decisions. It wasn't easy, and she was criticized and attacked along the way, but she always stood strong for Wyoming people and Wyoming values, and she always will. And that's the story.